I can't believe I'm about to do this. As you can see around me right now, we're sitting in a dispatch office. And all around me are all the mutts that control us. Most companies, doesn't matter where you go, 90% of them, they've got dispatchers. And these are the guys and gals that control our lives and dictate where we go. We're just going to quickly touch on a couple of things, good and bad, of what we like and what we don't like. Here are some ways that you can determine whether you've got a good or a bad dispatcher. I'm going to start with the no's. Let's get the negatives out of the way. These are the things that drivers in general that I don't like the word hate, but we just can't stand about our dispatchers. I've said this before in other videos. Myself personally, I prefer to have a dispatcher working in combination with me because you're a team. I've always found that I've always done better with a dispatcher who was a truck driver. A guy or a girl that drove for years or has some trucking experience that came out of the truck and decided to go into the office. And the reason for this is very simple. The dispatcher is going to dispatch me from this point to this point. Any mutt can dispatch a truck from here to here. And they're gonna go on their computer and they're gonna tell us, okay, it's 800 miles, you've got X amount of time and this is where it has to be and this is your appointment time and when it has to be delivered. But in between this point and this point over here, if anything goes wrong, if I have a problem, if there's issues with the load, if there's issues with anything like that, I want somebody who's been there, who's done that. If you were a truck driver and you've got experience and you've got knowledge and know-how of how the operation out on the road works, then you know what, you're gonna be of more use to me when I make that phone call and go, okay, I'm having a problem with this, I've got an issue with that. You've been there, you've done it, you know how I feel, you know the stress that I'm under. Dispatchers generally do not know the stress that we as drivers are under unless you've actually been out there. And there's a couple of really good programs out there, and I suggest if you're a large company and you've got the means to do it, stick your dispatchers out in a truck for a day, just one day, even a guy doing local. Make him sit in that passenger seat for every hour that driver is working, whether he's loading, offloading, have the dispatcher be there with him. When the guy's out of the truck loading the truck, the dispatcher gets out of the truck and he loads the truck. Or he watches, but he doesn't necessarily have to participate. But give them a feel of what we go through, when the load gets loaded. Okay, now we got to drive to the next location. We got to go through traffic. We got shippers, we got receivers, we got receptionists, we got security guards, we got four-wheelers driving us absolutely crazy. Let them see that. Let them sit there when you get cut off and you got to slam the brakes on your truck, and let the dispatcher, run his forehead into the dashboard and let him see what you have to go through. That's just a little point for companies that I think you should probably do. I want a dispatcher that has some empathy, that can understand everything that I'm going through on a daily basis. First thing that I really don't like when it comes to certain types of dispatchers is a dispatcher that doesn't know the rules or the hours of service. And this has happened to me. We're on e-logs, so everything is computerized. The dispatcher can see everything that's on my e-log. They can look and see what I've got for hours and whatnot. But if they don't know what I'm legally allowed to do and what I'm legally not allowed to do, that drives me absolutely crazy. It really does. There's regulations for a reason. They're supposed to be there to keep us all safe. But if the dispatcher's phoning me going, okay, it's 629 miles to get from here to here, and you got 4 hours. Are you gonna make it? Oh my God. You know how many times I've wanted to reach through my phone and pull somebody's throat out? If you knew the hours of service, you wouldn't have to ask me that. And nowadays, like I said, with the e-logs, the dispatch teams now have had to get a little smarter, because now they can look on there and they can look and see, okay, this is where he is, this is where he's going. The computer will generally tell you how far it is, and this is how many hours. But they still have to know how to read. And if they know that, it's of more assistance to me. It's better for me. But if they don't know and they have to phone me 13 times a day to ask me for this or that, or when's this, how far is that, or whatever, you're gonna drive me nuts, and you're gonna have a cranky, irritable, miserable driver working for you. That's happened a lot. That happens quite a bit. Okay, this one is actually a really biggie, and I know that probably 90% of you guys right now are gonna sit there and go, oh, F yeah. How many of you had your dispatchers lie to you? Now, I'm not saying again that every dispatcher lies, but how many times have you heard that story? Oh yeah, okay, you gotta get there, get to the customer, deliver, and I've got to reload for you the next morning. And then you kill yourself. You get there, you get the load delivered, and they go, oh, the load fell through. Guess what? There was no load. You know, maybe once in a while there was, but if it's happening quite a bit, there was no load, it was a lie. They're motivating you to get you where you need to be, to where they want you to be. That one there hurts because there's nothing you can do, and you certainly can't prove they're lying, and you're certainly not going to call them and say, hey, you're a liar. That's just not going to happen. But it does happen, and it drives me nuts. If you want me to be, again, irritable, angry, lie to me. Dispatchers that lie, it goes on. There's nothing you can really do about it, but it does go on. The next biggest lie is simply this. They give you the load and they go, oh, don't worry, it's 40,000 pounds. You get down there, the load gets on the trailer, whether it's flat or van or whatever, and you're maxed out at 47,000 pounds. Well, I'm an owner-operator, I'm paying for my fuel. If you tell me it's a 40,000 pound load, I can do the math and go, okay, I'm gonna make this much on the load with fuel, and you put 47,000 pounds on my trailer, I'm not crazy about that. If it's 47,000 pounds, tell me it's 47,000 pounds. I'm gonna load the trailer anyway, right? But at least I'll do it and I won't be upset and pissed off at you. This is a true story here. My circle of friends, we call this the Google mile. They're gonna ask you, where are you? Okay, well, I'm in Toronto right now. Okay, well, you need to be in Montreal, and you know, how far is that? Well, let's just say it's 300 miles. And then they'll turn around and go, well, that's 300 miles. Well, that's what, 4 hours and 20 minutes? Well, that's because Google told them. Dispatchers that run their drivers on Google miles are unrealistic. Because if Google says it's 4 hour drive, well, from Toronto to Montreal is not a 4 hour drive, it's actually a 5 hour drive. If you're gonna tell drivers that it's 4 hours, you better be right about it. Google miles are generally off from PC miles, or they're generally off because Google miles are rated for what a car is gonna do. On the speed limit for the roads that they're gonna take. Well, I'm in a truck, I'm governed. I can't go over 65 miles an hour. The average car runs from Toronto to Montreal probably at close to 70, 72, 73 miles an hour. My truck doesn't do that. I'm governed at 65. And because I'm conservative and I like to watch my fuel, I run my truck at 62 miles an hour. So it's not a 5 hour drive. It's a 5 hour and 40 minute drive. It's almost a 6 hour drive. Then there's traffic. So don't sit there and go, oh, you know, you're gonna be there in 4 hours. Don't tell me when I'm gonna be there because that's what Google said. Google tells you it's gonna be there in 4 hours, it's gonna be there in 5.5. And that's just the bottom line with the way Google works. Do not Google mile me. I hate that. Now, I know the list is long. It can be long of things that we hate about dispatchers, but these are just a few of the things that I've experienced. Something else that I've experienced. Now, I've never experienced it where I'm at now, but the last place I worked, I knew for a fact that if I showed up with a $100 bill in an envelope and a bottle of Jack Daniels, I knew that my miles that week were gonna be a lot better than the guy standing beside me. Do dispatchers take bribes? Goddamn right they do. Christmas time. How many guys are walking into the dispatch office at Christmas time with a bottle in a little envelope, or a bottle in this, or a bottle of some cigars? And yeah, okay, you spread a little Christmas cheer, but it's to make sure that that dispatcher is happy. Not all dispatchers take bribes. This is not a general thing saying generally dispatchers, they don't, but it is out there. Dispatchers will take bribes. I know because I've done it. I've bribed somebody to get a better load. I've bribed somebody to get better position up the chain for better loads. I know it happens because I've done it. Does it still happen today? Yeah, it does. Is it right? Absolutely not. Would I do it today? No, I wouldn't do it today. I do okay where I'm at. I don't need to do that. So those were some of the cons, some of the things that we don't like. But let's talk about a couple of the things that the dispatchers do that we do like. I, for example, with the company I'm at, over the winter I ran into some bad weather. I'm running across the 90, coming out of PA into Ohio. We got the lake effect snow. It blows up, weather's bad, I gotta get off the road. I phone my dispatcher and I tell her, I say, hey, listen, this is the position, this is what's going on. The first words out of her mouth were, okay, get off the road and call me when you're safe. Her stock went way up. My dispatcher's stock, in my eyes, went through the roof. She was more concerned with my safety than with the company's bottom line. She made sure that, and then you know what? I got off the road, I got the truck parked, everything was cool. I gave her a call, I told her where I was, and then we worked out and formulated a plan for the load. But at the end of the day, the load came second, I came first. That I appreciated. The next thing that I really appreciated, and believe it or not, this is the same dispatcher that does this. When I'm working, you send me my dispatch. give me all the information. Give me everything I need. Don't make me have to call you because I need something. Get it all to me at once, or give me everything that you've got. If we have to go back later and get something, but give me all the information. And then you know what? Cut me loose. Let me go. I know my job. I know what I have to do. I know where I'm going. I know what I gotta do. Do not micromanage me. There's nothing worse than a dispatcher that's gonna micromanage me over a 14-hour day. Now mine doesn't do that. I'm lucky in the fact that my dispatcher gives me everything I need to do. She winds me up, points me in the direction she wants me to go, and I go, and she leaves me alone. If there's a problem, you'll hear from me. If I've got an issue, I'll call you. I'm not taking this little list that I've got here coming into your office and micromanaging you and telling you how to do your job. Kinda. At the end of the day, don't tell me how to do my job and don't micromanage me. I've been doing this a long time, just like I'm sure you've been a dispatcher for a long time. I don't come in and tell you how to do your job, don't come out and tell me how to do mine. The only reason I would ever say that those two should cross is if I can come in the office and do your job better than you, then yeah, I got a right to do it. But if you can come out to my truck and drive it better than me, then micromanage away. The last thing that I really appreciate as a driver when it comes to dispatching, or dispatchers, is a dispatcher that's gonna stand up for me. When there's a problem and a customer's not happy and it's out of my hands, it's something that I'm not responsible for, but yet, of course, everything rolls downhill and I'm the guy at the bottom that gets it. So when the customer's not happy with something, what do? They go at the driver. Oh, your driver did this, your driver did this, your driver was late, your driver... You know what? I've had a dispatcher actually go to the ownership of the company and go, Brian had nothing to do with Brian. There was weather, there was traffic, there was this, there was a list of 100 things that could have gone wrong, and it had nothing to do with the driver. And my dispatcher was good enough to actually stand up and go and basically bail me out. Now I appreciate that. Again, you do something like that for me, I'm gonna wanna work for you. If you're a good dispatcher, of course your job is to make money for the company. It's the company's bottom line. But you know what? You can't make that bottom line without me as a truck driver. You take care of me, I'm gonna wanna work for you. If I'm working hard for you, you're making your bottom line. You're making your bonuses. You're making your extras for quotas for miles that drivers run. You're gonna make all of those if you've got a driver that's willing to work for you and be happy and want to do the job for you. If you're a dispatcher, don't be a dick. If you're a driver, don't be a dick. Learn to get along. I'm sure as a driver, you've got your own list of things that you do and you don't like about your dispatcher. Maybe some of the things I've mentioned, maybe some things I haven't mentioned. These are just things that I pulled off the top of my head. If you've got any more ideas, leave a comment. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Yeah, I'd stand on his desk and dance.
Keep your clothes on.
Can we do a video called what pisses me off from the drivers?
Yeah. Sure.